Hurricane Florence has begun to affect the Carolinas. Good Thursday evening, I'm meteorologist Jordan Young. The storm quickly has moved into the area, but now is stalling right off the coast of North Carolina in the Atlantic Ocean near the Gulf Stream. It's drawing on some additional warm waters there to help maintain its strength. Right now it's got winds of 100 miles per hour, but the system is barely moving towards the west at around 3 to 5 miles per hour. This is a look at the Frying Pan Ocean Cam. It's powered by explore.org, and you can see the very heavy winds there, the tense winds, and also notice the very rough ocean waters. A very strong storm surge is being felt across much of the eastern seaboard this evening, all the way up into the Outer Banks. The center of circulation is about 100 miles off the coast, and it is moving very slow right now. It is slow to about a 3 to 5 mile per hour westward movement, and it just continues to wrap these very heavy bands of rain all across our eastern facing counties, and the rain totals are starting to add up, and that storm surge is also starting to have an impact. So our futurecast radar shows the center slowly moving off towards the west, and eventually, as we move through the overnight hours, this is early tomorrow morning, the eye wall finally starts to move inland, and we start to see a landfall sometime around the 9, 10, 11 o'clock time frame on your Friday morning near the Wilmington area. That's when we're expecting the actual eye wall to pass and finally move inland, but still this storm will be moving so very slow and dropping so much rain over the areas. The winds will also be very high. Anywhere in red is over hurricane force wind gust, and as we move through the time, as it moves on to the shore, we notice that the wind speeds do begin to decrease with the system, but we're still seeing wind gusts all across southeastern North Carolina, well into the hurricane force wind gust, and much of the Carolinas will be seeing at least tropical storm wind gusts, especially east of I-77 tomorrow. Looking forward, this is 10 a.m. on your Friday, and notice that most of the rain is still located along the coastal areas. It's not until we move into Friday night, this is 1 a.m. Saturday morning, that the system finally starts to try to begin to drift a little bit to the west and to the southwest. But notice the amounts of just heavy rain. This is 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, and notice the heavy rain still sitting right there over the coastal areas. It's not until we move into the overnight hour Saturday into Sunday morning that we really start to see that rain shield expand and begin to move westward as the storm finally begins to drift to the west. As we move through Sunday morning and Sunday afternoon, that rain continues across western and central portions of North Carolina, and the flooding threat continues to increase all through this time. So let's go back and look at the exact track of Hurricane Florence. The cone of uncertainty brings the storm inland, or like I said, around the 10 a.m. time frame, give or take a couple hours on Friday morning. Then it drifts it back towards the south before moving it back in around South Carolina's coastline near Myrtle Beach, or just slightly south of that area. And then the storm will move towards Columbia or just north of Columbia, the center of circulation, before moving towards Greenville, South Carolina on Sunday morning. So this is a very slow moving system, and that's going to allow for very high rain totals. We're looking at 20 plus inches of rain down across parts of the coastal plains. I would not be shocked if some areas receive up to 40 inches of rain. 6 to 10 inches of rain will be common across much of the Carolinas. In a couple areas up in the northeast part of the state, we'll probably see the lower amounts of rain since they're just a little bit farther away from the track of the center, but still 4 to 6 inches of rain expected in those areas. Some good news is that the storm surge forecast has kind of went down a little bit. It looks like now a 7 to 9 foot storm surge is expected, but that is still a very strong storm surge and needs to be taken very seriously. We're already seeing some of the impacts with some roads closing, with the storm surge already occurring. And the tropical storm force winds, a 90% chance of tropical storm force winds across much of eastern North Carolina, and see the hurricane force winds over an 80% chance in parts of eastern North Carolina. Now is the time when the storm is making impacts across the eastern part of the state. I will continue to keep you updated with all of the latest information, and be sure to stay weather alert if you are still there on the coast. This is a very dangerous storm, and please be very careful. Even those as we move into the western and central part of the state, remain weather aware for the next 2 to 3 days with Hurricane Florence, as it now is affecting our weather here in the Carolinas. Thank you. I'm meteorologist Jordan Young.